So now, Dungeons and Raids, there's going to be a ton of new content here. Like Tom mentioned, one thing we wanted to make sure for Cataclysm is that we were going to have more in-game content than we ever had before. But that's not to say we're not going to have just as much level up content. We're going to have a ton of dungeons. Just a few examples here. The Firelands is going to be one of our raids. You're going to be able to go actually into the elemental planes of fire, go to Sulfuron Keep, and Ragnaros is there, and he's a lot bigger, he's a lot stronger, and he's super pissed. So you're going to have to deal with that as a raid. Like I mentioned earlier, Old Doom, we're going to have 2 level-up dungeons in Old Doom, the Halls of Origination and the Lost City of Tol'vir. One's an exterior city of the actual city from the Tol'vir where they originated from, and then we actually have a new Titan dungeon, the Halls of Origination. Blackrock Caverns. Now, what this is basically a completely brand new level up dungeon that's located in Blackrock Spire. So there's dungeons that we really liked, and we knew that players would like to go back to these dungeons, but we didn't want to just go back and just upgrade something in the dungeon or maybe change a flow. This is an entirely new dungeon, new art, new creatures, new boss fights, everything. You'll be able to get to this from Blackrock Spire. It's basically a dungeon it's full of Twilight's Hammer. There's experiments going on down there. Deathwing, it's kind of like you could look at it as one of his, a base that he has of operations, but outside of Grim Batal. And then a couple others here. We've got Grim Batal, like we mentioned. Grim Batal is going to have both a level up dungeon and it's going to have a raid. So we're going to cover both angles with Grim Batal. That's a place we really wanted to tell a lot of stories, so we figured we should do both. Skywall is also both a raid and a dungeon. And then last but not least, we are doing a couple new heroics. So these are going to be level 85 heroic dungeons that you'll be able to do, Dead Mines and Shadowfang Keep. We'll be going back in here. Now they're going to use the art that's existing now, but we're going to do new fights, new creatures, new abilities, and it's basically going to be right where you expect a heroic level 85 dungeon to be.
Van Cleavier than ever before.
If you want more information on Dungeons and Raids, we're going to be doing a panel tomorrow. I think it's in this hall, the Dungeon and Raid panel, and we'll have a ton of info on these dungeons and a lot more. So now here's a couple, we grabbed just a few concept shots of some of the dungeons for you to check out. This is the Abyssal Maw. Here's a shot of a Sulfuron Keep in the Firelands. This is a shot of the inside of the Halls of Origination inside of Old Doom. And these are a couple shots of Grim Batal. And last, we're going to finish up with a little preview of the PvP that we're planning for Cataclysm, and Tom's going to tell you about that.
All right, so of course, to go along with all this new content, we've got a lot of new PvP content for everybody too. We have the Tol Barad PvP zone. So Tol Barad, it's an island off the coast of the Eastern Kingdoms. It's been referenced from time to time in Warcraft lore. What we know is that there's a prison here, and this prison sits on this island, and both the Horde and Alliance want control over it. So there's quite a bit to discover here. The kind of idea here is that it is a melding of the Wintergrass concept with the Isle of Caldanos concept. So the idea being that while you're there during the off-battle times, it behaves kind of like an Isle of Caldanos, where it's a daily quest hub for all kinds of daily quests, probably the main daily quest hub for the expansion. And then when the battle comes time to activate, kind of like Wintergrass, then players are going to fight for control. And that control will give players access to the actual Tol Barad prison, one of the instance wings within there. It will also open up new kind of like bonus daily quests for that side. Extra profitable daily quests. We also have the Battle for Gilneas Battleground, and the current plan is actually to have 3 battlegrounds with the expansion. So one of those things that we want to do in terms of adding more end-game content than we've had before is to add more battlegrounds than we've ever added in the past. So Battle for Gilneas is one of those. The idea being that players are going to be able to fight through the city and the streets of Gilneas City and take control of the different districts and fight it out. We also, of course, have some new arena maps. Numbers yet to be determined, but they will have some new ones. And finally, kind of the major gameplay feature for PvP as far as the expansion goes is the rated battlegrounds. So now for anybody out there that really enjoys doing battlegrounds but doesn't like the arena playstyle as much, you'll have the option to do the rated battlegrounds, and I'll talk more about these in the system panel. But you'll be able to do the rated battlegrounds to get your rating up and get the same access to the same types of gear that you can get through the arena system. And so that brings us to Q&A. Now, I don't know that we have much time for Q&A, but we do have a specific Q&A panel set aside for tomorrow morning. So any questions that you guys don't get to ask today or in any of the other panels where we kind of go over these features in more detail, make sure to hit us up in the Q&A panel tomorrow morning.
So I guess that's all the time we have. We will have an entire hour for Q&A tomorrow at 10 a.m. We will have a lot more information on the various panels that you'll find, the class items and professions later today, as well as Dungeons and Raids tomorrow, and the systems panel that you'll find is PvP. So just no time today, though, for this panel at least.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you all.
You are watching BlizzCon live on DirecTV.
Welcome back to BlizzCon Live from Anaheim, California. I'm Jeff Keighley here with Kat Hunter, and we've got all the fans of Blizzard from around the world, over 100 countries watching us on DirecTV and on the internet, celebrating all that is Blizzard. And we are now here with a very special guest, a man who knows Blizzard pretty well, Paul Sams. Great to have you here, Paul.
Thanks. Great to be with you.
So how does BlizzCon feel to you this year? You've been to all of them. What's different about BlizzCon this year?
It's big.
Big.
It's bigger than ever before. More things going on, more people, more halls. Any which way it can be bigger, it is.
Now, Mike mentioned in his opening speech that when they actually found San Remi was here at BlizzCon last year. Can you tell us a little bit more about what that meeting was like?
Yeah, absolutely. Basically, we got a call from Sam and his folks. He wanted to bring his son and a couple of his friends to the show. Sam plays World of Warcraft, interestingly enough, and he plays it with his kids, or his son, and some of his son's friends, and so they wanted to come and experience it.
Yeah.
And typically what happens if someone like that is wanting to come to BlizzCon, we take the opportunity to meet and greet and to get to know those folks, because you just never know where your paths might cross again. And so when we were sitting backstage in the main stage last year, he and I were chatting, and I was asking him about his passion for World of Warcraft, and he was saying, oh my God, you know, I love the game, it's so incredible, the characters are so rich, and what have you. And we basically just started talking a little bit about the movie, because he said, I'd heard about the fact that you're doing it with Legendary.
Right.
And I said, yeah, you know, actually we're looking for a director. And he said, really? He goes, you know, I heard that you're talking to, and he listed off a couple of directors that were pretty big names, and he goes, yeah, he goes, sounds like you're in good hands. I said, well, wait a second, that's correct that we're talking,
Right.
but we haven't done anything yet. And I said, you know, I'd be interested to see whether you might be interested. We put together a list of our top directors that we were interested in working with, and you're in that top 5 group. Yeah. And he said, you're kidding me? And I said, no. And we just began that conversation, and he said, all right, well, let's get together and actually talk. And very soon thereafter, he said, you know, I want to do this. And we were ecstatic. So wow. It was really cool. And it all happened here last year behind the main stage.
You
Wow.
never know. You
Exactly.
never know what's happening.
And you guys just announced it, I know, right before Comic-Con.
Yeah.
Now, Sam is off to do Spider-Man 4, I know, is his next picture that he's directing. So it's going to be a couple of years until we get to see this movie,
Well,
right?
there's going to be a window of time where Sam isn't available, as you can imagine, because he's going to be focused on Spidey 4. But we're already in the development process with him, and we're working with a screenwriter that we're not going to talk about quite yet. But I can tell you that if the screenwriter that we have working on this ends up really being able to nail it the way we think he is, people are going to be pretty excited. This is a guy that has done some of the most epic stuff around. So we're really geeked up.
All right.